Hello, everybody. Welcome to Snowfit Academy. We are going to be talking about the new Jersey Trifecta Weekend that's going to be happening on the 25th and 26th, so next week. We want to try something different this year where we kind of give you guys our thoughts about the map and everything and how the course venue is going to be laid out since we're doing venues that we've been at before pretty much this whole year, except for the only new one I think we're doing is the Fayetteville. I think the rest of the venues that we're going to we've already been at, right? I'm
Yeah,
trying to think off the top of
I
my head.
think we got them.
So, New Jersey is probably one we're most familiar with. It is the start of the year. We have most people who are going to be doing their first Spartan race of the year here. And it's a trifecta weekend, so it's going to be busy. If you're not signed up for an early heat, you're going to end up in parking galore over at the opposite end of the venue area. So the venue area, there's a very small parking lot right across the street. You'll go into like they have the main hut of the ski resort, and then you will go into the festival area right across the street. There's a parking lot. It's pretty small. If you have VIP parking, that's where you're going to be. There's a little bit of regular parking. I think that's what we saw from last year. So if you're not in like the ultra heats or like the very first heats of the day, you don't have VIP parking, you're probably going to end up down here. It's only like a mile down the road, and then they'll just shuttle you in. There's two different resorts here. There's I believe this is the South Mountain. One of these is the South Mountain. One of them is like the main mountain. I think this might be the main mountain. This might be South Mountain. Somebody correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but you'll have most of the parking be over here. Oh, I think this is the parking. This little thing over here. Yeah. Because then you have this base, which is more of like a beginner area. So that'll kind of come into play when we talk about how the terrain is. So that's how parking is going to work. And it looks like the map is pretty similar to last year. So if we look at last year's map, yeah, same sort of thing that's been going on with all of this, with where you kind of go generally of how the terrain's going to be. It's probably not the exact same trails through the woods, but I mean, if we look, just you go up the mountain, like you kind of go up and around, you go up and down, up, and then I mean, same kind of thing from last year. You go up and down and around. You still have this like weird jut out and everything. So this is last year's map. They had all the obstacles released. I guess, is it a new thing that Spartan's not releasing obstacles? They're saying they're classified.
Yeah, they want to
Ooh.
keep us on our toes.
But if we kind of look at what was there last year, you're probably going to see like the same things that you usually see. Of course, if you're doing the Beast and everything, you'll see probably the Tyrolean Traverse. I feel like that's pretty common on the Beast courses, the 8 foot wall. And of course, everything on the Beast ends up on the Ultra Loop. I feel like the Ultra Loop just like picks three random things. It says this is going to be Ultra only. I don't know. What do you
Yeah,
think?
because it
Because
was funny because last year, like I did this venue 2 years in a row, the Olympus, it almost looks like they left that obstacle like standing there. Like it was kind of just falling apart and all grubby from like the year before. Like there was
it look
last year it was okay, and then it was grubby falling apart. You if you went to the one side, you'd like pull and it would jut up. So I wonder if it'll be in the same spot this year, even worse, or if they're gonna
It looked
fix
pretty
that.
sus. I think I skipped it last year. I was like, F that. One of my favorite parts is when we kind of go up and behind and there's like that thing that goes over the water, that like cement thing. And it
The
looks the
bridge.
bridge. I want to say because like I don't think this map is I feel like it's like maybe one of like these lakes over here. But I thought that was cool. So that was fun. But
Think it's up here. It was on the
is that
super course
oh yeah, it's over here.
because it wasn't in the
Yeah.
sprint. It was the super course specifically right there.
Yeah, because that was like, yeah, mile 10. Because Nick was just like, oh, Bree, if you want to quit, you could quit. That's when you called me last year because they finished like 3 hours ahead of me. I'm pretty slow. So if this is your first beast ever, if I can finish, you can finish. I promise that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So let's talk about like the start of the race and kind of like going through everything, how the elevation works. So this was last year's map. Of course, let's go get to this year's. We'll kind of talk about the map setup, and then important thing that everybody should have is the race day documents. Again, do you want to talk about this first, or do you want to talk about the actual course itself?
Yeah, let's look at the course. Let's check that.
Yeah, let's check that out. But definitely check this out because this has important information. So now that you've gotten here, because you've either parked or taken a shuttle, it's pretty organized at this one. I would say, at least for Saturday, it is. Sunday's kind of a clusterfuck, for lack of a better word. I feel like every time I went in, there's like a million people just going around. So if we're talking about the Beast, or the Ultra. Again, as you know, Ultra Loop will be twice, Beast will be one time. We have our start here, and I feel like this was just a really annoying uphill until you got to like around here where it was like the over-unders and stuff like that. So this first bit from the start up is just like up. I want to say probably it's like a blue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a green into a blue. If you're familiar with how ski elevation is, that's kind of what's going on there. So,
Yeah, it just goes straight up, and then the sprint people get to take like a little cutoff. And then
mhm.
if you're doing the beast, this is still pretty straight.
But it wasn't too bad of a gradient. Like until you got to like pretty much the top of this first part here, this was like not too bad. Like you could keep on moving. It's not like it was like a really intense like uphill. I feel like that was more on the super course you ended up with that like straight uphill, especially like the sprint course, the very last uphill really sucked. But the thing about Vernon, if you've done like Killington or Palmerton or something like that, the thing about Vernon is that it's not straight up and straight down and straight up and straight down like how Killington or Palmerton is.
Yeah, it's
It's
pretty like
it's
that.
and no, it's like go up, you go up. It's in waves. It's not like a just straight up the whole slope. Like you have like a flat and then you go up a little bit more and then you have a flat. And by flat, I don't mean like actually like you're flat for a long period of time. But you know what I mean? Like at ski resorts where it's like they'll have like you'll go down the bit and then it'll kind of flatten out and then you'll go down again. I think that's kind of how, especially on this side of the mountain over here, that's how Mountain Creek is set up because I remember feeling differently with that versus something like Palmerton where I feel like I'm just going constantly straight up the mountain.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It all sucks because I think for this one, did they put the elevation
because it
change
would
over
kind of
here?
like wind. Like you'd go up and then go over
Yeah.
and kind of do like a little windy down to the trail, and then then you'd go out and go up again and then go down.
Yeah, because like this that first one to go to the top, it's kind of a smoother gradient, and then you'll have like these random you go up, and then the climbs are not like I think this was the worst climb, right? Between mile 4 and 5, because I remember that one that was up like a block, because then that's
Yeah.
over here, because between mile 4 and 5, like these are the worst parts. Yeah. Yeah, because after you finish this, I'm assuming this is probably gonna be a sandbag carry. I think there were two last year, right? There were two. There was one on the sprint course and then another one on the beast course. Yeah,
Yeah.
because this was like a smaller sandbag. So then this
That was
one,
like a pancake in a sandbag, I think.
yeah, because over here is like where all the greens are. So the slope for the sandbag wasn't bad. It was on like it was like a beginner course kind of thing or for skiing, so the slope wasn't too bad. I'm not sure what this loop is. I know there's all these condos here. I remember there was like random people staring watching us last time. Do you remember that?
Was that, I think, was that where the sandbag was, where those houses were at the side?
Well, there was the houses, but once you got on the actual slopes, because this was like going through people's homes area, and then you came out onto the actual course where all the slopes were, and then you did the sandbag carry. I know when you do it one year, you like black out and forget how
Yeah, I don't
horrible
know
it
where all
was.
the little things were.
This is why I do the directions of where things are. He's like, I don't remember this building. I'm like, yeah, we have to turn right here. So this stretch where you're climbing all the way back up to the top. That one I feel like was like one of the worst, especially this part here, because once you come back, I remember you're going back and up and around people's houses because I remember halfway up the mountain, I like stopped like on the porch of somebody's condo to like eat a snack and then I kept going. So that's probably the worst one. And then the rest of it's just kind of like up, down. And of course the downs feel worse than the ups. So the ultra loop over here, if we're talking about that, since there's no obstacles we can talk about, but it's probably going to be the typical one. I wonder where they're going to add a chain carry. Probably on the sprint course, right?
Yeah, they might.
They might. So then you have the ultra loop, which I feel like last year they said the ultra loop was just mud.
Well, that'd be pretty cool.
I feel like that's what they said. I'm kind of speculating there, but if you look at the ultra loop, where is this between mile 5 of the ultra and then it goes all the way down to almost mile 10. So you have your about 5-ish mile loop, and you only do the ultra loop on the first lap. The second lap, then you just do the beast course, I believe, for this one.
I think they were changing it up.
Really? I
I
think
don't,
it depends on how big the loop is,
does
because
it depend on the venue? Because in North Carolina, you had to do the ultra twice, so I don't know if that's the
that was
same
South
here.
Carolina.
Yeah.
Because their ultra loop at South Carolina was about 2.5 miles.
Yeah, it was probably shorter.
This one looks like it's about 5. So if we look at that on this ultra section here,
Yeah, we'll have to
it
see.
doesn't look too terrible.
Look at that. 11,000 feet.
Oh yeah, look at our elevation gain. That's crazy, man.
And the beast is only 5,000.
I would say that's pretty accurate. That's what my watch had last year.
2,000 for the super and 1,700.
So if we're looking, I think this is true because somebody said like the ultra loop is the flattest part of the course
Oh,
for the
good.
ultras. So I mean that's kind of true. Flat is relevant here. Flat is very relevant. So yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate. So it looks like this ultra loop will probably be flatter and mud, and it looks like it's pretty much like on the other side of the mountain, like way outside the realm of the ski resort. So probably going through state game lands or something like that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that because I've never ultraed here before. So it'll be something new and fresh.
What's your goal, Nick?
Oh, to beat the race.
Do you have any time goal?
No, I
Just
just want
what,
to see if I
survive?
can beat it because
I think Nick can do it. Yeah. So that's pretty much the big part. And then after this part, so you come down and then you come pretty much back up. Once you come down, I feel like this one was where that 8 foot wall was at the top here. And then when you came around, you said Olympus was over here, right?
yeah,
I
I
feel
don't
like that's
remember.
where it was. Let's look at this map. 6, what was that? Oh, that was a plate drag. Where was Olympus? Was it on the other? Oh, it must have been on the super course. You said over here. I feel like Olympus is the bane of my existence. And then as you're making your way back down the mountain, I think you go up again. Where's that mile 6? Yeah. So you come down and then you kind of come back up as you're getting to mile 8. Yeah, because that sucked. Yeah, so you come back down and then you meet up with the sprint course for like 2 seconds. I feel like I don't even remember this being the sprint course because I just feel like it was just I don't even remember seeing signs for the sprint. Did they I think they have a Saturday sprint.
I don't,
Do
do they?
they? I don't think actually, now I'm not sure. Here, we can look at the times of everybody. Oh, that's the kids' race. Oh, here we go. Because sometimes they randomly have a Saturday sprint. Oh, they do. They do. Sprint registration opens. Last sprint heat goes off at 2 on Saturday. So they do. So you might see people. I don't remember seeing anybody. I don't remember seeing anybody or any signs, but there's definitely signs for the super. And
Yeah,
then,
there's
yeah,
signs. Those signs they'll say like sprint and super goes up. So
I
you'll
don't
see
remember
it.
seeing.
They're there.
Because I don't remember seeing any sprint people. Just everyone was suffering or wearing a purple vest. That's
Yeah,
how I
there's
feel like it was.
definitely the
There's
signs.
always signs. You'll like there was no signs for me to get off track to just basically say that. They're pretty good here. I feel like the thing about this course though was there was no mile markers.
Yeah, they were kind of skimpy on those. You'd go a couple miles, and I'm like, so are we at mile 3 yet?
There was one mile marker at this first water station, and I didn't see one until we got to like mile 12. Like I don't think I saw another one, and I was like, okay. And I think my watch without the penalty loops were like close to 16 miles. So yeah, this was a lot. So coming up, this part was like the steepest and most annoying part. I feel like coming back up this mountain because these are all blues over there. I looked over and blacks. I looked at the map and everything. So this part really sucked when we went up this part. And then you go through like, I guess this is where Olympus was, kind of come up and around. It's a little bit flatter. But here's the thing about over here is that this part here was really muddy. And I feel like this part was too, because it kind of dipped down. There was just mud everywhere. So I feel like that was like one of the things that I also saw.
Yeah, I
Do you remember
remember
that?
where the beater was. There was just like a swamp of mud going up to it.
Where was the beater last year? Let's look at this. Beater was at number 16, so that was over. Yeah, pretty much. Yep, that's where we were. Where the everything
You were just going through like a swamp, and
mud.
then the beater was all like grimy.
Yeah, I just remember somebody was just like, this was my slowest mile, and it was like 40 minutes just trudging through the mud. It was horrible. All the ultra people coming by, they're like, get ready for mud, because they do the loop twice. So
Mud.
I feel like that's where my spirit started to dwindle because I just kept getting stuck. And then I think this is the worst part of the race, where you come all the way down and you pass the starting line and the finish line.
That is the worst part because you come off and you have like the rolling mud where you're going through all the like mud, you're either cooling off or freezing. Then you do the slip wall, you see all this the air,
Smell the
you
fire.
smell the food and everything. And then this hill specifically is really steep. So that one's just horrible. You're just like, man, are we close to the finish? And you're not even close because you have to go up and
That's the longest,
around.
like this, the sprint course of
The
this race is
sprint,
the worst part of the entire beast and ultra course.
yeah, because you're all excited and then so the sprint is fine, but then yeah, this is where they had Olymp or multi-rig on like a weird slant the one year around here, and it was just treacherous.
So yeah, once you come back down, there's like the slit wall, dunk wall, whatever. That's where it was last year. Obviously, everything can move. Coming back around and mustering the strength to go up this hill is the worst part. But if you have somebody spectating, that's pretty much the only time they'll be able to see you is coming back up, or if they go all the way over to this area here. So they'll come back up. You'll make your way up, and I think this is where the sandbag carry was. There was another sandbag, and then this is where the bucket carry. This bucket carry sucked so bad. That was like the worst part for you and Ian. Do you remember the bucket carry?
Is that the one that went through the woods?
I think all of them were going through the woods, but this was the one where you kind of came in and then you went like down and around and came back up because there was like
Um,
a hill on that one.
I don't
All the
remember.
buckets were like falling apart.
Yeah, I didn't think that bucket was too bad because I remember half of them were empty because people kept dropping and breaking them. So I had like a light one and I kind of like sprinted it. I was like, "Ooh, well, that was pretty easy."
Maybe it was Ian who was having more of a dramatic time with that one. And then of course like this after you did the bucket carry, I feel like that was, let me look at this. Like where was that where the bucket carry was? Yeah, 30 was the bucket carry. It looks like that's a little bit different because it comes over. Maybe there's not going to be a bucket carry there. Who knows? But I just remember coming up this, doing this, and coming back down. And like there was another, that little uphill after you did the bucket carry. Do you remember how it goes? Maybe the bucket carry was like over here or something like that. But I remember you went down after the bucket hill and then you had to go up this one hill. And it was probably only like 100 meters. But because it was like a really high gradient, I was like, I think that's where my spirit started to break. And if I wasn't so close that I could like hear the festival area, I think I would have like lost it. That's where I started crying.
I thought it was neat on the Beast course. There were sections where it still had snow. Like,
Oh
like
yeah, there
you could go
was.
through the snow.
You're like, ooh, you like can walk over the snow and stuff like that. Probably not this year. I'm assuming it's probably all gonna melt.
I wonder how cold it's going.
Oh, that's another thing we can kind of talk about. So we kind of came back down and then you finished the race. And I think that's where like the Hercules hoist and everything was down here. So you'll survive. This one's definitely a tough one, but if we look at the race stuff, so just be aware of like the times and everything like that. Of course, Nick's gonna be doing the ultra. I'll be doing the early morning beast, so I'll probably in like the 9-ish a.m. slot. I don't remember. And then Nick will be at the 6:30 slot. So
Yeah.
that'll be fun. And so again, everything closes at 9. So let's look at those. And you can go the day before and pick up your race packet if you're doing the ultra. Here's all the aid stations. Now, you want to make sure you're carrying your own water and food and any necessary supplies that you might need, depending on your situation. I probably overpack, but you don't want to be relying on these aid stations or external food, especially for food. Like if somebody thought that they could just show up and eat the snacks at the aid stations, there's like 2 aid stations with snacks, and everyone runs out of bananas. So just be aware of that. Course cutoffs. This is important if you're doing the Beast or the Ultra. So again, for the Ultras, the cutoff time is 2:30 p.m. for anybody who has not departed the transition area. So if you get to the transition area at 2:25, you better be out of there in 5 minutes.
Yeah, you shouldn't be in there too long anyway.
Yeah.
Should just be in and out, get your food, refill your water, and then go.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. So, and then 6 o'clock, any racer on the course must have a working headlamp. I feel like I finished around like 7. It was still bright out. So I feel like they don't really enforce this until like the sun goes down, which when is sunset? When is sunset in? in New Jersey on April 20. 7:48. Okay. So really you probably won't be running into an issue with seeing unless you're still on the course at like 8:30 for visibility
That'll be me.
reasons. So, but just have it with you. I would definitely say when it starts getting dark, put the headlamp on. Because that's why I was losing my mind at Killington. I started imagining snakes on the ground instead of roots. Also, don't forget food. And then any racer who has not passed the 7-foot wall by 6 p.m., which I would assume it's probably on the super course, right?
Yeah, but look, it says if you do not finish, you don't get a medal or a shirt, and it won't count towards your trifecta.
I feel like that's what it always says.
I I just want to see it.
You
It's like
can't
if you
just,
don't finish, you get nothing. Beat it.
yeah, I feel like it wants you to be like around here. I feel like that's where the cutoff is. Like it's like around this area because the 7-foot wall last year, 14, was around here. Yeah. Was around like the Olympus area. So probably around, get to the, I would say get to that crossing thing by 6, right?
Yeah, I'm curious to see where I'll be because I finished the South Carolina Ultra in around 9 hours. It's a little over 9 hours, so we'll see this one. I'm thinking I'll probably be just finishing as it's closing down at the
That's okay.
14-hour mark.
You can make it 7 p.m. Any racer who has not passed Olympus will be pulled from the course. So usually I would say it's probably like 3 obstacles down if I'm thinking of where things were. So like Olympus was like the next one, but I would say Olympus is probably maybe they're putting it here or something like that. So
No, it's just remember it's stuck in the same place it's always been.
okay, it's
They're
stuck
just gonna
there.
let
It's
them
so
die there.
here is where Olympus is. So maybe the 7-foot wall's over here.
The important thing you have to know is that at this venue, it always rains or
Mhm.
it's always 50 degrees with wind chill and it's very cold. So you want to wear some layers here.
In the morning at least.
Yeah,
But it can change at any point. So like last year there was a thunderstorm that rolled through and they were just like, "Ah, just keep walking."
yeah.
They didn't do anything. So just be aware the weather could change at any point.
The rain and cold make it more fun because when it's rainy, everything's slippy and neat. And then when it's cold, it makes you run faster because you want to warm
You
up.
might be the only person saying that, Nick. But I think that's pretty much it for the race day stuff. So again, if we're talking about the weather in Vernon,
If it's going
Jersey.
to rain.
So we look, oh, look, there's a freeze watch in 2 days. Let's look at the weather channel for Weather Channel. So if we're talking about, oh, I didn't get it to, it's not loading.
Look at the house meeting.
That's okay. We're in New Jersey. Let's look at that. Alrighty. Oh, I was on it. So we look at the 10-day forecast. Now we're looking at this a week in advance. So we'll see if that's actually.
Sure.
So if we look at this, it looks like the weather is 68 degrees is a high, 47 is a low.
Ah!
Sorry, I had a timer going off. So that's gonna be the weather,
Partly cloudy. Well, that'll be nice.
but it looks like it could rain, so this could change on a dime. So just keep an eye out. Basically, big thing, understand it's gonna be cold in the morning. It's gonna warm up.
So wear
Yeah,
those
layers,
jackets.
layers, pack a shell if you need it. But I think that covers pretty much everything. What do you think, Nick?
Yep.
Anything else you want to say to the people?
Let's see. The first year I did it, I just did the Beast at this location. Then the next year I did the Trifecta Weekend. So I'm ready to see how the Ultra will go. I think I'll do okay.
I think it'll be good. So hopefully we will see you guys there. I'll wear orange and Nick is gonna wear his typical hat that he always wears in the videos.
I like my white hat.
Yeah, his white hat
I
that's
have to
like
protect myself
covers
from
him
the sun.
completely. So you guys can come say hi to us. I'm Bree. This is Nick. And we're looking forward to helping you guys and seeing you guys win. Yay.
Yeah.
Bye everyone. See you later.